Give me your picks, give me your insights. I want the bets from Betting Weekly. Because we win, that is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show, Bet River sponsors. It's time to start, enjoy the show.
Welcome aboard, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It's a new week on the show, Monday the 12th of May, and a really smooth intro there. Lewis, how are you doing? I hope you had a great weekend.
Yes, good to see you, Steve. Hello to everyone out there. Yeah, there was a smooth intro, wasn't it? I love it, a bit of like Marvin Gaye, sort of Stevie Wonder. Definitely one of the better intros. I think I had some sort of Slipknot / Korn heavy metal stuff last time I was on. It didn't set the tone right for the show. I thought now I'm fully sort of like relaxed and ready to go with what we got on offer today. But yeah, no, the weekend, yeah, had a couple of quite nice winners actually. My 7-1 weekend double for Sky landed, which is always a nice starting point. It's quite heavy on Aston Villa to win at Bournemouth. That went quite well, and then was all over cards in Newcastle versus Chelsea, and that kicked off quite nicely in midfield with Enzo Fernandez, who I was on, and also Bruno Guimaraes. I landed, had them in a bit of a same game parlay as well. So yeah, it was a good weekend across the board. But yeah, we got to look forward now. No point looking back, is there? How was your weekend? Winning?
Yeah, I mean, up and down. There were some great moments, and then there were some, not so good moments. 86-minute goal in the Empoli game cost me an under. Quite a big play. I felt unlucky there. The XG, the metrics, red card as well. And then, we'll talk about it later, but Chesterfield did me dirty in the League Two playoffs. I was really, really confident about them. But some good winners as well. Meninda mentions it there. Saint Etienne did me a really good job on Saturday with their victory. So, it's ups and downs. That's the nature of the beast sometimes, isn't it, Lewis? I forgot to even actually introduce you. I am with Lewis Jones today, Premier League handicapper and journalist, who's had a fantastic season here on our live shows. But welcoming everyone. Hope you did have a good weekend. Ming Chung, Disky, Duncan, Daniel Lucardi, good to see you. Real Brendan King as well. And we are going to talk heavily about that Roma game. There's a lot on the line there, not just for Serie A, but for actually picks that we've got on the shows already, let alone what we might produce today. Paul Lagoon, always great to see you. Coventry, yeah, they were let down on Friday. We're going to talk about them soon. And just some notable weekend soccer winners and losers. It wasn't a really good weekend for the bettors. Biggest bet was on Wolves Brighton over 2 Asian goals live. That was a push, which is quite good compared to some of these other ones. 16,000 was lost, sadly, on Bournemouth Aston Villa over 2.5 goals. And this, I mean, I would have lost massively on this game in play, I think, if I was able to bet on it. But I was on the cricket field, thankfully. Southampton Man City, $13,000 lost on over 1.25 Asian goals live at -106. I mean, just based on, you never ever would have thought they were going to hold out, surely. So I think that looked
the 0-0 was from a bookmaking perspective. The 0-0 as well. That's just like the perfect scenario from a bookmaker perspective of the result. That if you want the perfect scenario for a result, the 0-0 in a game which was that heavily skewed towards one team, wow, people would have been stung there. But this Man City team, honestly, they still do things that aren't Man City like. Still, I think they've turned the corner to a certain extent, but they're nowhere near on my trustworthy list at the moment. Still, City.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the -2 Asian. I know a lot of people are on the win to nil. Even 1-0 was
a good bet, though. The win to nil was a great price. I still would maintain that because it wasn't too far from landing. Really, was. You look at the metrics, you look at the chances they created. It was so one-sided, and all that needed was that little fine margin to go your way. And I think it was odds against, wasn't it? Went off odds against the win to nil. So I still think sometimes great bets get beat, don't they, Steve?
They do. Absolutely true that. And another $11,000 lose here. Wolves against Brighton. Both teams score. Yes. It's cashed a lot in Brighton games this season and Wolves matches for that matter. But so not a great weekend for the bettors on the sportsbook with the soccer. So we need to get off to a winning start this week, Lewis. That's the challenge. Several matches to talk about. We've got a double Serie A card, Championship playoffs. I'm going to pick Lewis's brains about the whole EFL playoffs, League One, League Two. There's a Swedish Allsvenskan game, which I've got a strong angle on as well. We might even have time for Norwegian Cup. I'm not sure. We'll see how the timings get to us. But we are going to start off with the early Serie A game. This is Venezia against Fiorentina. This is 12:30 Eastern time. A match which affects both the top and bottom of the table in Serie A. And Venezia, who've only had, by the way, one win in 17 games, 18 Serie A games, sorry, and that was against bottom of the table Monza. They're plus 205. Fiorentina at plus 145. Really need a win here to stay in contention for the European positions, and the ties at plus 205. The problem for Fiorentina back is that the main man up front, Moise Kean, is ruled out today. He's not included in the squad, a 17-goal man. So that immediately reduces their goal-scoring threat against a Venezia side who have been, I mean, the stats for under 2.5 goals for them at home this season is 13 matches out of 17 under 2.5. Goals per game on average overall, 1.8 at this venue. It's not really been an entertaining sort of watch at home for Venezia. 26 points for them. They are 2 points behind safety. So really, I mean, they'd love a win, but a draw would do them nicely. And then they've had 10 draws in the last 18 games. Draw kings. I was looking at Fiorentina draw no bet here, but ultimately, I don't really want to get involved in the match markets. They've only lost one of the last 7 games in Serie A, Fiorentina. So instead, I was looking at some player props in this game with no Keane in the squad. It looks like Gudmundsson and Beltran are going to start up front for them. And if you pair together both players to have at least one shot on target each, you're getting plus 235. You know, I'm not being funny. If you're a starting striker against a team in the bottom 3, you should, as a bare minimum, be getting a shot on target. That's the way I see it. So I think both of these strikers should be getting on target. If I had to pick one of them, it would actually be Beltran, I think, at minus 113 for a shot on target there. But pair these two together, Gudmundsson, Beltran, void bet if they don't start, plus 235 for a shot on target each. I mean, you've got to be doing that, surely, Lewis, if you're against a bottom 3 team.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I think that the fact that the Moise Keane's out is an interesting development in this game. I think I haven't got an official play on it. It's not a game. Serie A is not really a league that I tend to dabble in too much. But just the comment that came through there on the screen about is it Robert Gosens, however you pronounce it. He might be one to step up in the fact that the Keane's not playing today. Actually, I always like it when the main goal scorer is out. There's normally like a mentality from the guys that are sort of in behind him, just in the goal scorer charts to step up. And I think he's just looking at his data here. He's scored. What has he got? 3, 4, 5, sort of 5 in his last 7 starts, and he scored twice in the recent 2-2 draw as well. Against who was that against? That was against Real Betis last week. So I think I like that comment that's come through. That would be my way of instinctively playing it. Would be the fact with the main striker out, I'd always look to see who's going to step up in his absence. And this Gosens fella looks like he's been in good form of late. So I'm not sure what price we've got on that, Steve. Do we get a price on that?
Yeah, like I mean, I'm just looking at him. I'm actually just looking at his stats now. And, this is a player in his last game. He had a really good game against Real Betis. 5 shots on target. 5 shots, 2 on target, 2 goals. He plays in that wing-back role. It can be inverted a bit sometimes as well. I will search around now, see what the price is on him to have a shot on target. But, I mean, someone's saying here on the... Foxy, that was it. Why is both teams to score no that big when Keane won't play? And I think that's a fair point because there's probably quite a strong likelihood this match does go under 2.5 goals. I mean, the only thing I will say is Fiorentina, I think a draw's no good for them. Doesn't mean they'll get a win. It doesn't mean they'll risk it all to lose the game. But both teams score no is minus 117. Under 2.5 goals is minus 165. I mean, is it really going to be a 1-1 draw? So I get his point. I do get his point there. Sometimes it can be the better bet.
But sorry, the price on Gosens there is really, or Gosens. How do you pronounce it? Is it Gosens? Goosens? We'll go Goosens. Trust you to bring an animal reference into it. Yeah, of course. He's plus 800 to score any time. So for someone that scored 5 in his last, I think it's 7 or 8 appearances, he's probably going to be getting. There's going to be more emphasis on him to deliver the potential winning goals for Fiorentina. So don't mind that.
Hold on, he's plus 230 for a shot on target.
Yeah, here we go. So, I mean, if say it's not an official pick for me or anything like that, but I would look into him to see if he's capable of delivering against this team. I mean, it looks like a bit of the Fiorentina win angle looks pretty solid to me. So why would you not back a player that's got hefty data in that department in terms of his shots on target and his recent goal scoring? So that makes a lot of sense for me. If you wanted to swing at a nice price to give you half a chance, probably.
Yeah, Giuseppe makes a very good point there. He plays very high as a winger. He's actually one of them players. I've watched a bit of them this season, and I can't really define his actual spot when he's on the field. He does roam around a bit. Can you use the word roaming playmaker a bit now? Roaming wide playmaker, is that even
inverted? I don't know. Yeah, left backs are playmakers now, aren't they? So you can probably you can definitely be a left winger that is a playmaker. Hard to pick up. That's probably why he's scored so many goals this season, and he's got very good data because he's probably a hard player to mark. So maybe we're digging out a very nice angle here, Steve. That maybe we should keep an eye on tonight with the emphasis more on this Gozens fella to deliver. Maybe
this could be the golden goose of the day. 89% of the money on the money line is on Fiorentina, so they are well backed here. The under, that's where the money is on the over-under market. 70% of that money is on the under. No real surprise when you look at Venezia's records in the game. I find money line really hard here. Even correct score result really hard. Venezia, I think, will play for a draw. I think Fiorentina might push for the win. I don't know. Let's just focus on these players. Sometimes the player props are the best ways.
100%, 100%. Totally. It's the modern way of doing it, Steve, isn't it? If the markets you're playing into are strong enough and the prices available and they hold, they're definitely a sustainable way of getting on and trying to find these angles in these markets. So yeah, definitely. I don't need to be told twice to get involved with props markets for sure.
Nish says he's taken Venezia win and draw and to score. That's an interesting bet. Real Brendan King makes a good point about when the Manchester City game. Sometimes if you do fear the 0-0, then yes, the both teams to score no is the sort of the right bet. That is the last score I honestly thought that would be in that game. That's all.
A little bit of Henry hindsight involved there. That I'm not even sure it'd even be on my radar when I was looking into that type of bet, the win to 0 bet. I'm not even sure 0-0 would even cross my mind. With Southampton, how many clean sheets have they kept this season?
Well,
I mean, it's got to be.
I can count on that hand, right?
Yeah, surely. Absolutely. And this is Manchester City, so yeah, the 0-0, just a freak result. You just got sometimes. Football does that to you sometimes. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't get too down on it. Just move on because football can do that to you. These results. Don't let that linger. If you had if that cost you in an ACCA or has that cost you on a big single that you're playing, I wouldn't lose sleep over it because these things just happen in football. Unfortunately, sometimes the nature of the beast.
Big celebrations from Southampton when they got that point. Of course, it's they avoid the record now. I don't know how you feel about that. I do your job. I think is in the words of Roy Keane. I'm not sure. I mean, well done to them. They're not going to be the worst ever team now in history in terms of records. I mean, for me, they might be the worst. I'd back that Derby team to beat them. I remember that Derby team. But that's a matter of opinion itself.
That'd be what a game that'd be, eh? Jesus.
It's been a really poor. I mean, the teams at the bottom have been really poor this season. That's certainly something to consider. And kind of going on to that now, how will the promoted teams fare next season in the Premier League? I think the last 6 teams to get promoted have all gone straight down. Is it 10 of the last 15 as well?
Yeah.
Leeds, we know Burnley are up. There's one more spot in the Premier League coming this season. And we're into the playoffs, Championship playoffs. Sheffield United minus 155 now to get promoted to the Premier League. Sunderland at plus 175. Coventry at 8-1. And Bristol City are 100-1 now to be promoted to the Premier League. They've got it all to do because they are 3-0 down after the first leg. And now they've got to travel away to Sheffield United. Bristol City plus 300 on the money line to win in 90 minutes here. Sheffield United minus 134. Tie plus 240. Over under market and the both teams to score market pretty much around the evens mark for both of theirs. 2.5 goals. The way I see it, Lewis, I think this is done really, isn't it? In terms of this match, this tie, Sheffield United are realistically in the final. Let's just talk outright first again. I mean, minus 155. Would you lump on Sheffield United? Would you trust them to win that final, whoever they face? Or would one of Sunderland or Coventry perhaps float your boat more?
I suppose it depends how much you base a lot of your thinking around mentality and history and how much that weighs down a club. Because Sheffield United got an absolutely horrendous record in playoff competitions. I think it's 9 playoffs they've failed to get promoted in, and they've also not won at Wembley for a long time. And that's all that's going to be heard in the build up to the final. Once they swat aside Bristol City tonight and get through that tie, that is going to be something they're going to have to deal with in the build up to that week. And yes, a lot of these players haven't been affected by that personally because it's different players and different managers and etc. But it's hard to keep that noise out sometimes, just the whole hoodoo of the way you are in a playoff situation. And that looks short to me still, Sheffield United. I'm not sure they're far clear of, especially Coventry. This is I'm gonna die on this hill, I think, with Coventry, because I was stung by them on Friday night, and Sunderland did a job on them, really excellently set up by the manager, tactically superb, but there isn't much in that tie still. It's one goal. One goal is nothing in playoffs, and Coventry know what they have to do in the second leg. They have to go there and win the game, and I think that's a really nice spot for them to be in. And in terms of the outright price here on Coventry, I was surprised to see it plus 800 still available. Again, you have to make your decision, don't you? Do you just back them to qualify at Sunderland and take the single and get your money back quick, or do you just lock it up for another sort of two weeks, 10 days, and take the bigger price and have a swing at the jackpot? And instinctively, I'm always willing to sort of take the chance on the bigger price. That's just how I'm sort of built, really. I'm always like to roll the dice a little bit and try to get these bigger prices. And I can see that Coventry game going to extra time. Actually, I think Coventry will win the game by 1-0 by one goal at Sunderland, which is plus 400 with Bet Rivers. Coventry to win by 1 goal. And that's backing it through the three-way handicap market. So Sunderland with a 1-goal head start, and then you back the draw. So basically, you're backing Coventry to win in 90 minutes by 1 goal, because there's a 24% strike rate for games being settled in extra time or penalties from the last 50 playoff matches in the EFL. So they're always live. And when there's games that are quite tight and there's not much between the teams, I always think if there's 20 minutes left of the tie and it's still level, it's going to penalties, it's going to extra time. There's never really too much late drama. So yeah, I'm very interested in that Coventry plus 800 price still, and I think that's the way I'll probably play in them rather than just backing them to get through the tie at Sunderland. I still think there's vulnerabilities about Sunderland. I mean, no team has ever come into the playoffs with 5 straight defeats, and I watched them against QPR on the final day, and they were so poor going forward. Against a team that are in an absolute state at the moment, QPR, managers on gardening leave, etc. And they created 0.5 worth of XG, and they really didn't look like they had any sort of attacking nous about them. And they played well at Coventry, and they took their chances when they come. But the winning goal was a huge mistake by the Coventry right back, wasn't it? So they were a bit fortunate to get through that game with a victory, and I think it'll be closer than probably the market suggests that second leg. So yeah, that plus 800 for Coventry, I've definitely seen worse long shots than that to get involved with. Just because also you don't really have to tie your money up for very long either. It's only 10 days, isn't it? So some of these anti-post bets where you're going for the longer return, you have to wait six to 8 months to get your money back. But this, just waiting 10 days. So yeah, Coventry for me at the prices there. I still think they're in the tie for sure.
Yeah, I thought Coventry outplayed them, really. It was just Sunderland's setup obviously worked quite well for the game. And we know they're lethal on the counter-attack. I mean, it's a manager I'm very familiar with down the years when he was at Lorient in France. It's amazing how many of Regis Lebris's teams overachieve their metrics, actually. So it's a continuous theme throughout the years. Low possession sort of side. I mean, Jack Wright had a really good angle on Friday with the Coventry corners, and that could be the same again, actually.
One, wasn't it? The corner count,
yeah.
Something like that. It was a huge win for the corners. Yeah, that's probably, with Coventry going there and having to, the game state's probably going to be the same as and the game rhythm and the way the game pans out is probably going to be the same as the first leg, even though Sunderland are the home team. So latching onto those trends and stats from the first game, the corners, the shots, with Coventry bossing the ball, I think that'd probably be an interesting way to look at that. Actually, you're going to get a good run for your money at least for 45 minutes with that if the game with Coventry going for that early goal, and that's why I just think they know what they have to do. I think that makes such a massive difference sometimes when you're looking at analysing football matches. They know what they've got to do. They've got to go and win. While Sunderland are maybe a little bit caught in between two places here. Do they just sit and block their way to a 1-goal victory, or do they just go and try and play their game and score a goal to really wrap up the tie? So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Coventry make a real game of that, I think.
Yeah, really interesting to see. We're going to be talking about that match tomorrow, isn't it, Lewis? On Betting Weekly Live. I think it's me and Jack Wright on the show. But, we've got Sheffield United, Bristol City today. We're going to come to that match now. Just before that, go through some of the comments again here. Giuseppe's on Fiorentina, draw no bet. He feels like that's the play. And Meninda, are Southampton going to give up again now that they've got the points record off their backs? Possibly. Southampton could be a big favourite the last 2 games. We'll have to wait and see. Home record for the playoff team so far hasn't been great, as Duncan said there. And if it was a Sheffield United Sunderland final, maybe it would be tight. I don't know. I think minus 155 would be about right, actually, for Sheffield United. Maybe shorter even in that final. I don't know. Meninda's comparing you with Anders Postecoglou here, Lewis, with a type of quote. That's how I'm built, mate.
Oh, dear. Time for me to retire then, I think. Yeah, that's me done.
Well, at least you look at the camera when you talk.
True.
True. Angie's sort of like this, isn't he?
Depends if they've won or not. The lower he gets, isn't it? After the Bodo victory, you couldn't really. He was like more or less in your face. He was there, wasn't he? Staring at you like that. And then at the weekend, he was just down. So yeah, it's amazing turn. The Spurs. I could talk about Spurs for days. I think it's absolutely miraculous the up and down performance level in those 2 matches. I mean, I was all over Bodo in that second leg, really confident they would give him a game. And I'm not sure, we don't have to go into it too deeply because obviously Norwegian football is your thing, but they were very disappointing, weren't they? I'm not sure it was to do with Spurs really stopping them, or was it Bodo just playing into their hands a little bit? And I don't know. It's just, I'm still not really over how limp they were, actually, Bodo, in that match.
I think it, honestly, and I was talking with a few people on Thursday night, I think it's the sheer athleticism of the Premier League players.
Yeah, okay.
That's the big difference, rather than... I actually didn't think Bodo played that badly. Looking back, it was a bad matchup physically, and Spurs were up for it. Yeah, their whole lives depended on it, it felt like. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why Man United and Spurs, for me, are in the final. If you look at that run, the sheer athleticism of the... I remember when Russell Martin was on Monday Night Football on Sky, he mentioned that about the recruitment. If he had it again, he would have brought more athletic players, pacey players, stuff like that. I think the Premier League has a massive advantage over that. Real Brandon King, yes, I get your point now. Sometimes if you are taking win to nil, there's occasions when both teams score no, it's the same price, if not better. So always, yeah, I get now where you're coming from. Yeah, you've got to check your books there. Here we are. Into the second leg, Sheffield United against Bristol City. A lot of people might ask, how can you make money out of this game, Lewis? Because it feels like a done deal. The tie's pretty much over. But, Sheffield United minus 134. Bristol City are very, very, very poor away from home compared to at home anyway. A lot of people might just think, or lump on Sheffield United. They're much the better side anyway. They don't need to win. 94% of the money on the money lines on Sheffield United here. Would you be a Blades backer?
It's a very difficult match to assess, I think, this one, because yes, in a normal scenario, Sheffield United are by far the better team, 100%. But how is this game going to pan out? Are they just going to stick with what they got? Do they need to go win the game? It's not really. I don't want to be investing even in those sort of prices at a team that don't need to really win a match. I can easily just swerve the outrights here, and it could definitely swerve any sort of Bristol City-based angle as well, because just comebacks of this nature, when the scoreline is this severe, just don't happen in the playoffs. I mean, the only team to have come back from 3 or more goals down from a first leg to progress and reach the final was Sheffield Wednesday, and that was only a few years ago when they beat Peterborough 5-1 in the second leg after losing 4-0. But even then, they were at home for the second leg, so they had the home advantage in that second leg. In that second leg, Bristol City haven't. They've got to go to Sheffield United here and try and win by 3 goals. I mean, that they can. They've got to give it a go. Of course they can. And from a betting perspective, maybe that is the angle that you need to be looking at. The fact something on the corner, like you mentioned, the corner bets already with Jack Wright coming up with the Coventry angle. Exactly the same here. I mean, Bristol City outsiders in the corner race markets, which interested me a little bit because you can get even money on them with a -1 start in the corner handicap race. So they can either draw or win that race. And just with the game stay and the fact they have to go there and put Sheffield United under pressure and win the game automatically got my attention. But then you just start looking into the numbers and looking at the gulf between the two teams. And you think, are Bristol City going to be able to even put Sheffield United under pressure? Remember, this is a team that finished 22 points behind them in the league standings, sixth. So the difference between 6th and 3rd was 22 points. And that's the biggest points gap in the last 21 years in the Championship. So we're sort of seeing how there's a huge divide between teams. So the corner angle was one which nearly got me in, but having just dug a little bit deeper and how wretched Bristol City are away from home as well. I think you mentioned it as well there. It's they got 1 win in their last 15 Championship away games. And I think I've watched a few of those games. I think I watched them away at Leeds and they were just outclassed from the first whistle. I mean, it was just such a mismatch. And Sheffield United aren't really too far away from that Leeds team, are they? I mean, they're probably a 1 level below what Leeds are, but Bristol City are probably like 4 or 5 levels below in terms of where they're at. So the corners bet at evens for a -1 start, Bristol City nearly got me in, but so much of a class difference between the teams. And then I ran the numbers of Sheffield United and corner races, and they've won 11 of their last 13 in the Championship. And Bristol City are averaging just 3.6 corners per 90 across their last 12 matches. I can't get involved with a team that are winning that few corners as any sort of push to go and like get me involved at a price. I don't think so. No, it's a very, very difficult betting heat, this one. But the Bristol City corners angle is the one that nearly got me in, and maybe it could be a lean. The even money on -1 start for Bristol City, but I'd be. That's a very tentative pick, Steve. How are you seeing this game? Because I found it incredibly difficult.
I think Sheffield United will win the second leg. The main issue I've got with Bristol City is I just don't think they're a very good team. I mean, I've watched a lot of Championship soccer, as you might expect this season, being a Leeds fan. I think there's certainly 3 or 4 teams that didn't make the playoffs that are better than Bristol City. This is arguable. You can really debate this point, but I certainly think Millwall, West Brom, Middlesbrough, despite their off days, I think probably are better than Bristol City overall. Some would even say Blackburn. I'm not sure about that. But the point is, I just don't think Bristol City are that great. And fair play for them for making the playoffs. I'll give them credit for making the playoffs. The golfing class was kind of proven in the first leg. The red card was a big factor. We know that. And I mean, the way I saw it, I thought the first leg would be maybe 0-0 or a tight Sheffield United win. And then the Blades would comfortably win the second leg. So I'm not going to go away from that. Chris Wilder is a canny manager, but I just think they're just too good. I think they'll find a way to win the game. Am I going to back them at -134? I don't think I am, but let's just see what the market move is towards the game.
One player did stand out for me in the goals market, though, Steve. If you are pro Sheffield United tonight and you think they are going to turn up and maybe put on a show, the Gus Harmer to score +300. That was a bet that stood out to me, just because I think he's the best player in the Championship, and I think he's probably the key reason why Sheffield United have managed to keep tabs on Leeds and Burnley throughout the season. He was named EFL Player of the Year at the awards ceremony last month, and I think there's an understanding that he's going to be worth sort of 25 to 30 million if they are going to sell him this summer. So he scored 9 goals this season, which is a bit lower than I would have thought for a player of his ability. But what I like about him is that he seems to grow when the occasion rises as well. The bigger the game, the better he plays. I've always just noticed that about him. He scored a really good free kick against Coventry earlier this season in a big game on a Friday night, and he's got good history with Coventry as well when he played there at scoring big goals. I think when they got through the playoffs, well, they'd lost to Luton in the final, but Harmer scored in both the semi-final and the final, and he just strikes me one of these players that when the occasion rises, he really comes to the party, Harmer. He's one of those individuals who's got a lot of sort of self-confidence and stature about him. And I like players like that in the big moments. And he does he does step up when it matters. Whether this is an occasion that fits that bill, I'm not sure, because it should be quite a routine evening. But they might want to put on a show and go out and go head to Wembley with a bang. And yeah, Gus Harmer plus 300 to score again. Only a lean for me, but for anyone that thinks Sheffield United are the bet tonight, I would probably consider backing Harmer instead of just backing that really short price.
He's a Rolls Royce of a player for Championship level. I totally agree. He's by far the best Sheffield United player and one of the top players in the Championship, if not the best one. Just looking through some of the comments here after quite a few comments on the Spurs and Man United. I think that's a debate for another day. The Night Fox Spy, welcoming. He says the Black Cats for the Premier League. He wouldn't have minded Coventry, but can't stand Lampard. Duncan said he hopes Sheffield United don't go up. They bring nothing to the Premier League, just a load of red seats. And this is the thing, is it? Next season, it's going to be a popular bet. The three that go up to go down. That will be a very, very popular bet. I mean, obviously, from a Leeds perspective, apparently I've heard that we're going to spend 120 million. Already we're looking at spending 25 million on Beto from Everton, which, I mean, I'm thinking alarm bells there.
Yeah, is he an upgrade, really? Is he an upgrade or not?
It's all well spending money. You've got to spend the right money, haven't you? I totally agree. I think to any chance of staying in the Premier League, money's got to be spent. I just don't really see Burnley, Sheffield United having that money. Sunderland would be interesting if they went up. I think they've got a manager who would be suited tactically. Whether he'd have the players is a completely different matter. Big crowd support there as well, by the way, at Sheffield Sunderland. So there'd be an interesting one.
Once you lose your first 4 home games, that goes all out the window, doesn't it? Who said this about Ipswich? Who said this about a lot of teams that have come up recently? I thought Ipswich home form this year would be sensational under McKenna. I thought that would be enough to keep them up. Well, they won once. I don't know. They picked up a point in this calendar year at Portman Road. So once the confidence goes early in the season, seen it first. I've got a lot of Ipswich fans, and Ipswich are a club I've followed because I've backed them in League One and the Championships. They're quite close to my heart in terms of the progression they've made, and I was expecting them to go again. But once the confidence goes early on in the season and you're stuck in a rut, and the memories of winning games from the Championship just seem like a million miles away, and it's so hard to get that back together again. I think that's the problem that the Championship teams have got. If they get a bad early run of fixtures against some of the big boys, I mean, Ipswich did they start with Man City and Liverpool, I think? Brutal. I mean, it's just put them on the back foot straight away. So really, really difficult for any of the promoted teams to stay up in this division with the as you say, it's a great point about the physicality. I totally agree with that. That's how you need to go and recruit players of that ilk. And Beto does fit that bill, in fairness, Steve. If you wanted a bit of physicality, he understands the Premier League. He ruffles people up. He runs the channels. He puts himself about. Not the greatest finisher, but sometimes you just need to balance out. If you've got a good finisher at the club, you need someone in there to sort of mix it up there. You need to do different types of ammunition, don't you, to weapons to try and hurt teams. So, but a lot of money. That'd be a lot of money for a player like that.
It would. There's premium to pay, isn't there? That's the thing. When you get promoted, then teams know you've got money to spend. So they always, you're going to get another 20% on top. Tough betting heat. Sheffield United, Bristol City. I mean, you've not really got a strong bet on the game, but Gus Harmer there to score potentially plus 300 could be something. Smalling on the corners for Bristol City. Tough game in general, Lewis. Just before we move on, interesting start. Over 2.5 goals market has hit over in 7 of the last 8 Bristol City Championship games. So that's an interesting stat there. 65% of the over-under money is on the over. We may have to go to Serie A for some of the better potential betting angles of the day. Big match here, Atalanta Roma. James Easton's got a hot dog play on the game from the Betting Weekly Extra Time show. I have a newsletter pick on the game as well, inside Betting Weekly Insider, which you need to subscribe to if you've not already. Atalanta Roma, this is a really tasty game at the top end of Serie A. A Roma side who are unbeaten in, I need to get the actual stats here, but it's nearly 20 games in Serie A. It is 19 unbeaten in Serie A, and they're plus 225 to win, plus 235 on the tie. Atalanta plus 120. Team news not really favouring Atalanta either here. Several doubts and problems in that regard there. I mean, my actual newsletter pick is on Roma here, on plus a quarter Asian ball. And I do believe they're the right side here. James Easton's gone with the tie, which I I could definitely see it being a draw as well. I mean, you were mentioning to me off air, you quite like the under angle here. And there's a lot of stats pointing towards low scoring games, both teams to score no perhaps as well. But under would be the direction you're going in, Lewis.
Yeah, it's amazing, this Claudio Ranieri story, isn't it? I mean, who saw this coming when he was appointed? I mean, I remember hearing the news and I just more sort of laughed, I think. And I just thought, what are they doing? They've just gone for the most obvious appointment out there rather than doing a bit of due diligence and getting the right man in. How wrong was I? I mean, he has done sensationally, hasn't he? An unbelievable appointment. And just looking back, when these two played earlier this season, in December, Roma were just 2 points above the bottom three, 2 points above the relegation. And as you say, the run they've gone on now, 19 games unbeaten, is it, winning 14 of them? Just an unbelievable job he's done, Ranieri. And yeah, I don't tend to get involved too heavily in Serie A, but just running the numbers today in terms of this under 2.5 line, I couldn't believe it was the price it was, actually. I mean, we normally associate Atalanta with scoring under Gasperini, don't we? They're traditionally a very high-scoring team at home, but they've only scored 4 goals in the last 7 home games, Atalanta, which really sort of nearly knocked me off my chair because I'm not been overly following Serie A in between the Premier League, but the fact that they've scored 4 in their last 7 home games, yet they're still in a very good position to secure Champions League football, shows that maybe have they switched their style a little bit? Have they gone more pragmatic? I'm not sure, but those numbers are really quite appealing when you're looking at the underline here, because then you throw in Roma's last 8 games. Their last 8 games have averaged 1.25 total match goals, and they've won 1-0 in 6 of those matches, and the drew 1-1 in the other 2. So we got under 2.5 here at minus 105. I mean, I can't believe it's that price. I would have thought it would have been a lot shorter than that. And am I missing something, Steve? Are you on the same lines here? Would you make that a bet at that price? Because I was surprised to see it's so underrated, that the underline.
Well, it kind of, whenever Claudio Ranieri comes into a club, it tends to have the same pattern, and it includes Leicester on this. Actually, he starts off and he's a really good people person. He gets the players to enjoy the soccer they're playing. So you often get quite a few high-scoring games. Actually, they score a few goals, get some results on the board that way, and then he gradually morphs them into this defensive unit. Remember that Leicester team that won the title? The back end of the season, it was 1-0, 2-0, 1-all if they'd get in a draw. And it's exactly the same at Roma here. Incredible amount of clean sheets, 9 clean sheets in 12. It's safety first, defensive first approach. He'll go on the counter-attack, get a goal, they'll be like a dog with a bone, hang on to it. So I think under 2.5 goals does look a massive price here. It really does. And both teams to score no as well.
Glad you agree, Stephen.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, I'm looking at 0-0 and 1-all as really possible scores here, or even
so many likely correct scores on your side of that under 2.5 line, because you say you probably at the prices Roma do look interesting on the Asian handicap, but if they are going to win, they're not going to win by more than 2 goals, are they? It's going to be 1-0. It's going to be 2-0. Maybe the 2-1 might scupper you, but you've got 1-0 Roma on your side, you've got 2-0 Roma on your side, but then you've also got the 0-0 and the 1-1 on your side. I think they're 4 very likely correct scorelines in this football match, and you're getting nearly even money for all of those prices on your side. Doesn't make any sense to me, really. I'd have it a lot shorter based on the numbers, and I'm glad that you've rode in with me. So I'll definitely make that an official pick, the under 2.5 in that, without a doubt. Yeah, I think that's a really nice price to attack tonight, and that's the game to watch tonight rather than the playoffs. And I never thought I'd say that about a playoff second leg against a Serie A match. No. I'll be watching Serie A, definitely. It's especially with this unders bet now live. All eyes on that, and I want to see how Ranieri's getting on. Actually, I want to see this Roma team up close, because they look like a really solid and efficient defensive unit, which is all you want from when you're backing under bets, underlines, under 2.5s. This is the type of team you want to back. So yeah, I'll be tuning in tonight and roaring on a nice boring game.
Yes, Tobias Deppo, interesting head-to-head. There 9 of the last 10 matches here. Atalanta Roma have gone over 2.5 goals, but I don't really look into head-to-heads too much unless it's a really big rivalry or there's something crucial. Based on current form, I don't think there's a case for overs. Based on current form, head-to-head, if you're a head-to-head backer, fair enough, absolutely. That's where you've got to be going on the overs. Maninder Pirar mentions the referee. I had a good look at him. And I watched him do the Rome Derby, and he did let a lot go. He gave 6 cards, but he should have given 10 or more. I actually really rate this referee. I think he's an excellent referee. I think he's the next big sort of referee to come out of Italy. He's never done a Champions League game, I don't believe, but they've got him in Europa League this season. I think he could become quite a good big game ref. Lets a lot go, which is not great for card backers. You will dish cards, but I don't like refs that are too lenient, Lewis, in general. Unless you get on the unders, of course.
Well, it's exactly who you. Yeah, exactly. Which way is your butter in your bread, so to speak? Because it's you either on the unders or overs, and you want to make sure that the referee suits the way that you're back in that game. So, yeah, you need to pick and choose. It's definitely part of the research process when you're looking into cards. These referees, because there are nice angles. I don't think it's really factored into the market quite a lot, actually. The levels of leniency and potential strictness in referees aren't priced up when cards markets are available. I mean, Anthony Taylor, again, a perfect example. The bet didn't land at the weekend, but those early cards prices for Liverpool versus Arsenal at the weekend were too big, and that moved massively before kickoff with Taylor in charge. And the overs did actually land at the end because it was a much more intense game than I thought. But he tried to let a lot go. I mean, Thomas Partey made probably about 27 fouls and didn't get booked. But there was too much going on in the game in the end that Taylor couldn't resist getting the cards out in the end because it was much more intense. But it just shows you the way that those early cards prices are priced up. I'm not sure the referee appointment is factored into that price at all. So definitely edges to exploit there.
Someone was after some player props for the game. I do have some suggestions. One quite a strong one, and it's Matthias Sule for a shot on target at plus 120. He is on the graphic there once the comment has come out, the actual spelling of him. Argentinian international. There he is, Matthias Sule. He's had 4 shots on target in his last 6 games, including an excellent goal against Lazio. You could also look at over 1.5 shots for Sule at minus 103. This guy does like to shoot from distance, and he's got a decent, accurate foot on him to do that. Other options for a shot on target here is possibly, I mean, this is a difficult pronunciation, but Shomorodov, minus 139.
Beautifully done.
Yes, beautifully done. For a shot on target for Roma. I think the Roma players are generally a little bit underrated. There is a lot of doubt about the Atalanta 11, actually, for this game. Lookman is a doubt. Kusanu is a doubt. Isaac Hien, 29 appearances this season in Serie A. Centre-back is suspended. It could be a bit of a makeshift Atalanta defence, actually. A back 3, which could include Rafael Toloi, could be starting in defence. And he doesn't have, he's not started that many games this season. Cuadrado is injured. Kolasinac is injured. Pesalic could start. He could be an option for a shot on target. If he starts attacking midfield, plus 130 is a big price for Pesalic for a shot on target for Atalanta. And for those who really do like a maraudering sort of wing back, then Zappa Costa, I think he's plus 230 for a shot on target here. But Sule would be my top player prop in this match, personally. The split for the game in terms of the money, 84% of the money on the money lines on Atalanta, 64% of the over-under money is on the over, which surprises me. I mean, based on recent form. But overs are popular to bet on in everything, Lewis. We know that.
It doesn't surprise me. Taylor's old as time, that is, the fact that the market is supporting overs. So this just looks like a perfect example where maybe the public money is affecting the price too much, and we can sit back in our chair, put a cigar on, and just hope for a nice old school boring football match and cash under 2.5, which were my favourite bets to do.
Foxy reckons that Serie A have got the best refs in the top 5 leagues. We talked about referees the other day. I can't remember who it was with, but voted the best referee this season was Francois Letexier from France, who got given the Euro 2024 final. The Polish referee is now down to number 7th rated. He was the best rated, but now he's had a few dodgy games, and I think his reputation has gone down a little bit. Marciniak, the guy who did the last World Cup final. Okay, just one more match I want to talk about before we go, and then a quick word on the playoffs. It is we do have a Norwegian Cup game today. Bodo Glimt are in action against second tier Aalesund. That's a tough one because we just don't know what lineup Bodo Glimt are going to deliver. Actually, we'll know the lineup in about 20 minutes. If it's a strong lineup, get on Glimt on the handicap, get on the goals. But if it's weakened, well, that could end anything. So I wouldn't get involved. But the it's not Eliteserien, it's actually Allsvenskan Sweden. There's a graphic issue there. It's IFK Gothenburg against Djurgården in the Allsvenskan. And I've got 2 bets for this game. Gothenburg, they've got to be a bet. They are my Swedish team, actually. Got the scarf behind me, IFK Gothenburg. Fallen Giant a bit. They're the draw no bet today, -121 against the Djurgården side, who have got potentially up to 11 players ruled out. They have been battered and bruised. They've put so much into this Conference League run that it's just taken so much out of the team. So it does concern me about that. And I'm not sure what they're going to have left in the tank here. IFK Gothenburg have a difficult side to actually predict. Not great at home in the last 2 years. 3rd worst home record last season, 5th worst the season before. It should be a fortress. The fans get right behind them. It's one of the best anthems pre-game you'll ever hear in soccer, Lewis. But hopefully they can bring the noise today. I think draw no bet on them is worth a go. Good situational spot. And there's a striker for Gothenburg, Max Fenger. I mentioned him before. Gave him out as a bet a couple of weeks ago on one of these live shows. He's had a great season. 9 goals in all competitions so far this season, including Swedish Cup. +190 to score any time, Max Fenger. And you could even look at it 11-1 for him to score 2 or more goals. IFK Gothenburg are starting to resemble a little bit of Brentford in terms of the same 2 or 3 players score goals for them. No one else. Fenger, Markovic, and Hines are the 3 players.
There we go. Sounds like the Wenger bus is coming there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like that one. The wheels are turning. Max Fenger's worth a go. He scored 5 of their 8 goals in Allsvenskan this season. He's only ever had 4 career assists in 130 appearances. So this guy isn't there to supply anyone. He's there to score goals. Simple as that.
Mr. Selfish. It's what you want when you're backing goal scorers. Love selfish goal scorers. Not the worst angle that. I like that, Steve.
Yeah, so that is definitely you've got IFK Gothenburg, draw no bet, Max Fenger anytime scorer +190. That would be my best bets of the day up in Scandinavia. Now, playoffs. We're going back here because League One and League Two are still alive. And League One playoffs, you've got a really strong interest here, Lewis, after the first legs are in play. This is a lot closer than the Championship. You've got Stockport there, Charlton +161, +175. You could still make a case for all 4 teams in the League One playoff race. And there's one in particular that you really like.
Yeah, I really like the price on Charlton here, +175. I think they're a great bet to make the final anyway. And I think once they're there, you're obviously in a good spot because that price will be heading probably. Would they against Stockport? Would they be odds on? They'd probably be odds on. It'd probably very, very actually tough game against. If Stockport got there, it'd probably be a pick 'em. But if I think they'd be heavy favourites against Leyton Orient if they would get there. But I really like their chances of beating Wickham in this second leg. And it's more of my negativity towards Wickham. Got a very inexperienced manager in Mike Dodds, took over halfway through the season. They were challenging for the top 2 before I think it was Bloomfield that went to Luton. But under Dodds, they've definitely dropped their points per game average. They've dropped into the playoffs when they're in the top 2 for most of the season. And if you actually look at the data and the numbers of his games in charge, they've only picked up 25 points from a possible 51. And that's the 9th best record in the league since he took charge. So I think there's been a huge drop-off. And I think they're actually in a false position they finished in the false position in the league now. And they've got a really tough opponent here in Charlton in the second leg. I mean, Charlton did the double over Wickham in the league anyway. And there was a clear signs of Wickham being very sort of defensive and scared of their own shadow in the first leg. That was their opportunity to try and get something out of this tie, I think, in that first leg. But their tactics were absolutely baffling. They were time wasting at 0-0 in the closing stages, Wickham were, which was absolutely ridiculous when you've got to go and try and win the home leg, when you've got a tough second leg away at a team like Charlton at the Valley. So Charlton got the 0-0. They were very happy with that. Nathan Jones seemed very... I think he was a little bit surprised, actually, with the tactics that Wickham were on show, and they didn't really have a go at Charlton in that game. So really like Charlton in this spot here. And I just want to mention the Wickham striker here, Richard Kone, who I know this is a good bet in Tau, actually. I know a few lads who were on him to be the top goal scorer in League One, I think, in pre-season. And he was 250-1 early prices, and they managed to snaffle that up. And he was 2 goals clear in the race in January, and they were getting some very big cash out options. But then the manager left, and his form has absolutely nosedived down the run. He only scored 2 goals in the last 13 appearances, and he ended up finishing 3rd top goal scorer in the league. So they managed to get a bit of the each way money, because I know none of them cashed out. But that was a heartbreaking tale for them on a real life-changing sums of money involved here with Kone at 250 to 1 to be top League One goal scorer. So that just sort of epitomises the fall from their early season form for Wickham, the form of their striker Kone as well, because he's a massive player for them. And I just think huge mismatch in the dugout here with Nathan Jones versus Dodds. Nathan Jones, a very experienced manager now. And my brain automatically goes back to a game I once covered at Southampton where they beat Manchester City in the EFL Cup quarter-final, and Nathan Jones masterminded Pep Guardiola that night. So it shows you how strange football can be sometimes. And now he's now in a League One job. But he's a very good manager at this level, and I've got a lot of time for his teams. And really want to back Charlton in the outright here at the prices. I think they're going to shorten dramatically once they get through this tie. They're plus 125 to win the second leg as well in 90 minutes. I wouldn't put people off that as well. I would have made that odds on for Charlton to win that second leg. So yeah, just their home form, unbeaten in the last 14 league games, won 12 of them. And if you focus just on solely results from December, Charlton took 61 points, and only Birmingham in League One took more points in that time. So I think Charlton, there was an argument to suggest they were maybe the 2nd or 3rd best team in this division, and we're getting some really good prices against to beat a team who really aren't up to the playoff levels under this manager, I think. So there's lots of reasons here to back Charlton in the outright. plus 175 to win the playoffs. Yeah, that's a great bet, I think.
Yeah, Nathan Jones, I really do rate him as a manager, actually. I know Nigel does as well. I think Nigel's often talked with me about Nathan Jones. Sadly, a manager who I think made 2 really poor career choices. He moved to Stoke at the wrong time. He moved to Southampton at the wrong time, but I get why he went. He couldn't really turn them down. But he's a good manager. And I think, he doesn't have a great playoff record in the past, but he's learned from his mistakes. And, I think they're a good shout to go up, and I think to get past this Wickham team. That Kone, I remember him. Actually, he was linked with a lot of clubs as well, but he stayed with them, and it's not quite worked out for Wickham really this season.
Yeah, the lads I know were absolutely sweated in January when he was linked with a move away as well. But once they got to the end of January, they were more or less celebrating, I think, and this is over the line. But his form has just nosedived under this manager, and it didn't quite get over the line. I think he was only 2 short at the end from winning it. So disappointment there. But just because of that reason, sort of on WhatsApp groups and things, I'm always getting updates about Kone. So I've always kept an eye on Wickham's form this season, see how they're getting on. And there is a big drop off of what's gone on under this new manager. And I think in a matchup with Nathan Jones, this is Dodds' first real job as the main man. I think he was interim manager at Sunderland, and he's worked behind the scenes at a few clubs like Birmingham and been part of the youth setup. But in terms of going up against a manager like Nathan Jones, very difficult for him in a one-on-one situation. I think tactically, Jones is a very shrewd operator. He's been around the block for a while now. So I think there's a big mismatch in the dugout, and I just think Charlton are the better team, and they're I think they're a great bet to go up through the playoffs.
Nathan Jones, that was quite a good song, Bananarama. Did quite like that song. Bit of a guilty pleasure of mine, actually. Bananarama. I've never heard that song.
Really? Can you give us a flavour or not?
Nathan Jones, you've been gone too long. Da, 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 da. They have Venus as well. You must know Venus.
Oh yes, yeah,
Venus.
Yeah. I know Bananarama. I've never heard of the Nathan Jones song, but
yeah, you need to look that up. Get that on.
Get it on straight away. My first port of call after this call is to Bananarama playlists. Let's do that this evening.
Francisco Martins, yes, that Bodo Glimt 11 is out, and I've just had a look at it, and Bet Rivers are not offering odds on this player, but Mikael Bro Hansen is a 16-year-old striker. They've given him the start here. He's had 2 hat-tricks in his 2 cup appearances so far this season. He's the next wonder kid on the Bodo Glimt conveyor belt. Mikael Bro Hansen, if you can get on him to score any time, I would say anything sort of actually plus 110 or more, then he's worth backing. They've actually started Patrick Berg in this game. I have no idea why. Aalesund away, that's a bit naughty of them. I don't like the back 4 though for Bodo Glimt. I think they could probably concede a goal here. I'm
not going anywhere near Bodo Glimt at any sort of financial investment in them anymore after what's happened to me over the last 2 legs against Tottenham. So yeah,
cash on the both teams score though.
We did. We did. It was the second leg. I was so strong on them getting a goal and making it nervy for Spurs on handicaps and things. I thought we got some nice prices, but yeah, just didn't show up. And can we stop talking about Bodo Glimt now, please, Steve? Thank you.
They should have put Mikael Bro Hansen on the field. This guy's meant to be really special, actually.
16, wow.
Yeah, 16. Turned 16 in January. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. There is a house special. I forgot to mention it earlier, but it's Atalanta to score 2 or more goals and win against Roma, plus 135. I think I'd want a bit bigger than that personally myself. But if you do like the Atalanta angle, then do get involved. Notable live streams, the Sheffield United Bristol City game, you can see that. You can see the Allsvenskan game as well, IFK Goteborg against Djurgardens, Granada Eibar in La Liga 2, and of course ATP Tour and WTA Italian Open. And Betting Weekly Tennis Live comes on this channel in an hour's time. We've got Betting Weekly Hardball and Betting Weekly Fast Break as well. Remember to subscribe to the newsletter and do catch me tomorrow on Betting Weekly Live with Jack Wright. We've got the Coventry-Sunderland second leg, La Liga card. We've got Sevilla in action, a Sevilla side who were basically forced to stay the night at their training centre over the weekend after a fan protest. So they're in action against Las Palmas. Can they get the job done? They're fearing for their lives. Maybe that'll spur them on the field. I don't know. But Lewis, it was a pleasure as always. Best of luck, whatever you're taking. Always great to chat soccer and betting with you.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, cheers. All over this under 2.5 line in the Roma. Who are they playing? Atalanta, aren't they? Atalanta. Yeah. So I really like that bet tonight. So I'd encourage punters to get on there.
Thanks very much, everyone. Remember to gamble responsibly. Take care. Cash some tickets today.